Hello, my friends. William here with the Grand Duke Dmitri YouTube video series, and I hope you're ready to spend, around 15 minutes cozy time with Dmitri. We're in 1915 today, in the midst of deep snow, and my crow friends are here today. So this is quite appropriate. You'll see why. Our recap. Well, the last not diary entry, the last video was in 1939, and Grunwald was talking about Dimitri's relationship with Lord Beaverbrook, Max Aitken, who was a press baron, on the level of a Hearst or a Murdoch, maybe not quite on that level, because those are both household names, as they say, and Lord Beaverbrook maybe was in his day, but he's not anymore, obviously. When I first encountered him in my Dmitri research, I had no idea who he was. We have Grunwald, as always, taking on the unsolicited role as Dimitri's nanny, sort of his covert nanny, sort of watching him from a distance and reporting to Maria and saying, oh no, he's about to make a blunder, or yeah. Anyway, that was yesterday. 1915, our last diary entry, which was the 18th of January. Dmitri was 2 days into reading this mysterious book by or about Sergei, apparently about. He was waiting for a letter from the woman he was interested in at that time. And our cast for today, well, we have Sergei Alexandrovich, and that is exactly how Dmitri refers to his uncle. The previous 1915 diary entry, he referred to him as Grand Duke Sergei Alexandrovich, Veliki Knyaz Sergei Alexandrovich, and previous to that it had been Uncle Sergei, and today it's just Sergei Alexandrovich. So here we go. It's the 19th of January / 1st February in Usovo. It's 5 degrees below freezing with frightful snow, but no wind. Okay, here we go. I got up around 11 o'clock. I brought a stuffed eagle owl with me from Moscow and wanted to attach it to a tree today as a decoy for the crows, but I didn't manage to do it. There's been a phenomenal snowfall all day. I've rarely seen anything like it. It's falling in huge flakes and so thickly that overnight it added about 4 inches. I went out for a walk before lunch. It's impossible to sled down the hill. So much snow. GM and I tried to clear it away, but it wasn't worth the effort. We lunched à deux, then went outside again. I didn't stay very long. There was nothing to do. I read until tea time, and at 5 o'clock, blank. Until dinner time, I read about Sergei Alexandrovich. Dinner was at 8 o'clock, after which GM and I sat down together to make a chess set out of paper. GM made the board, and I cut out the pieces. They came out tolerably well, and when we were finished, we sat down and played one game. GM easily beat me, of course. It's been an awfully long time since I last played. So, as I said, just a nice, cozy day overall. I missed snow this year when I arrived in April in Davos in Switzerland, and the previous year in April there was a ton of snow. It just kept falling and falling and falling, like Dmitri is describing here, but this year there wasn't really any, so I missed that. Okay, so let's get down to business with the crows. What's going on with that? Well, I thought maybe he had brought this stuffed bird, this eagle owl, with him from Moscow in order to scare the crows away at Usovo. But when I looked it up, it seems like, that would be a possibility, but it's basically such an ineffective way to scare crows away, because you kind of have to move the thing around, and they're such smart animals, they figure out that it's not a threat to them. So another possibility, and the one that seems more likely, is that it's to actually attract crows, because if crows were to see this and be initially fooled by it, they would possibly mob it as an enemy that they want to get rid of. And strength in numbers, they would all come against it at once, and you'd have this murder of crows. And then presumably Dmitri would have wanted to shoot them. He liked shooting crows. So I don't know what he had in mind with that exactly, but it seems like that second alternative is the most likely. But anyway, he hadn't asked a servant to do it, so that's interesting, but he didn't manage to get up the tree, or whatever the plan was, to place the thing. But interesting that he'd already had it in mind when he was in Moscow and acquired this thing and brought it with him. Okay, so we've already talked about, the odd use of the various names for Uncle Sergei. And this time Dmitri actually says that the book is about, or he says, I read about Sergei Alexandrovich. So, I'm still confused, but I guess that's some indication that it was not really memoirs or diary entries. And I still hope to come across it one of these days. So I like this chess scene very much. They don't have a chessboard with them, so they make one out of paper. Quite charming, and makes me a bit wistful, because I'm old enough that I remember doing things like that when I was a kid, on a day when the weather is bad. I never specifically made a chessboard or chess pieces out of paper, but people don't do things like that anymore, so it's kind of nice. And I'm 100% sure that if Dmitri had had another option, if he could have watched movies or done anything that people do online, he would have done that instead. But he had this nice game with GM, and he says, of course he beat me, Dmitri, easily. He beat me. Dmitri was always kind of down on himself when it came to sports of any kind. He rarely says that he played or did something well when it comes to games or sports. And he seems to have been, a good sport. Nobody seemed to feel the need to let the Grand Duke win, and he didn't even, in many instances, expect to win. So his excuse being that he hadn't played for a long time, and then that's a decent excuse. I've never been any good at chess, even though I have a friend who has tried hard to teach me, and it's not a matter of not being able to learn, it's just a matter of not having the patience. But since we're only at 8 minutes, I will tell you the 3 principles that he has tried to teach me for playing chess. One is to control the center, the other is to develop your pieces, and the third is to protect your king no matter what. So I'm less interested in using those principles in chess than I am in trying to apply them in other situations, and even looking back historically and saying, did such and such military venture succeed because the person controlled the center? Hitler, of course, in the Second World War, when he went into Russia, did not control the center. He didn't end up taking Moscow, and maybe it's true that maybe that was the big mistake. Anyway, I'm being silly here. Sorry about that. What do we have next time? We have a sort of through the looking glass section of Grunwald's letter in 1939, where he himself goes and spends some time with Lord Beaverbrook. He's anxious to do that because he doesn't want Dmitri to be under the sway of someone who's going to lead him down the primrose path, and apparently he has no faith in Dmitri making such decisions himself. I'm not sure why, but that's how he felt. So he went and saw Beaverbrook with Dmitri's blessing, apparently, and he found Beaverbrook land to be rather bizarre. So we'll be talking about that. And in 1915, well, we'll have a new health update and a new French novel. And then we'll just continue on with our one-on-one time with Georgy Mikhailovich Laming. So, yeah, I hope to see you next time. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.